Well, everybody, welcome back to the Trick Podcast of Joy and Gozo TV. On this beautiful Sunday, it is noon here in the Los Angeles, California area, Long Beach, California. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to this episode. There's my Gozo Bella right there. How are you doing? Share this broadcast. Let everyone know that Gozo TV is on the air. Gozo, by the way, means joy in Spanish. I have my coffee here, my, what do they call this? Brunch? Breakfast, lunch? Although I did have breakfast, but this is just the coffee from my breakfast. Let's see how it tastes today. Delicious as always. I got my Gozo mugs back there. If you'd like to pick those up, you can go to davidtrigg.com/Gozo, Gozo. Welcome, bienvenidos. How are you? Tell me, what are you doing today? What did you do yesterday? What did you do Friday? What are you up to tomorrow? Back to work? All the usual stuff. What is going on in your life? How are you? Bienvenido. Nice to see you here this morning. I've had a great weekend, and I want to talk today about healing trauma and finding grace, and how I'm doing that, and how you can do the same thing in your own life. But yeah, I had a great weekend. I probably, what was my highlight? I mowed the lawn, which I love doing. Also played music yesterday, which I'm going to tell you about here in a second. And then I also recorded with some of my friends, and we celebrated our daughter's Isabella's 20th birthday, so big shout out to that. Let's see if we can get this. Yeah, you can hear that, right? So there you go. That's a little celebration music there for our girl who turns 20. Any birthdays in your family? Any birthdays this month? Any birthdays in your neck of the woods? Let me know how you're doing. By the way, make sure you wake up because the roosters are here. And then I love this one. That's the pito, as we call it in Spanish. But my favorite again. So fun. So fun. So yeah, so once again, welcome to this stream. So glad to be here. So glad that you're here with me on this day. Join me, whether you are on Instagram, whether you are on YouTube, on Twitch, on Facebook, on YouTube, I guess I said that, Twitter, Twitch, Periscope, all the rest. Thank you for being here. So glad that you're here. We're restreaming to different platforms so that you can check things out. So yeah, let me tell you about how I've been finding grace in the middle of this season of our lives, which is, this has been a crazy year, hasn't it been? Wow, what a year. What a last 24 months, I guess. What a season, right, to go through as a collective global community. I know this has affected a lot of people, whether it's the pandemic or whether it's the trauma of it all. One of the things that I really have a heart for is the emotional part of what we're all going through. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about kind of what I'm doing to help people, and also to go through this myself along with my beautiful wife and our kids. So I think since maybe I was a young man, maybe in my 20s, perhaps a little later, maybe in my 30s, I've always enjoyed getting more behind the scenes of what people are feeling inside. A lot of it, of course, comes from my own journey of thinking and processing what I'm going through. And so I began to process in my 20s, maybe early 30s, my growing up years, my childhood, and I know a lot of you know my story. But basically, in short, I went through a war when I was I was only, 11, 12 years old, and that was pretty traumatic. And then I had to be separated from my parents. Things you hear about now in terms of the border and all that stuff. I was separated from my parents when I was about 11, 12 years old. And so that was horribly traumatic. I lived with my beautiful grandma, who loved me, of course, and I lived with her for the rest of my life. And then I went through a ton of fear in terms of being in the country, and I had visas and I had this and that, but I never had the peace of mind. And so that caused a lot of fear in me. All that mixed with a real passion and a real calling to serve God and to play music, and to really to also to go to school and to get my dream has always been to get a doctorate. And I hope I can still do that here in the next few years. Almost there, I guess. Anyway. So, and then a lot of that finally just came out. And so since my early 20s, more like my late 20s, early 30s, I've been healing through a lot of different tools from all of that trauma of my growing up years. And also, of course, seeing God, the hand of God, how he has been faithful and he's been there the whole time. And so in the last few years, I would say the last 10 years, I have been trying to find what my eventual, I guess, just, I don't know, my niche in this world. I've always loved, of course, the church and healing people and music, of course, and I enjoy talking to people and helping them and mentoring. I was thinking about this yesterday, and one of the things that I love the most, and it makes a lot of sense, is helping young adults and working with young people. And the reason is because that's when I got healed. It was in my 20s, as I mentioned, when I felt pretty lost and confused. But that's when I had mentors and coaches and doctors and therapists and my grandma and the church and school. I had all these different, I guess, as I say, a village that came around me. Eventually, of course, my wife and all of those things that really brought a lot of stability. And now I see a lot of young people just like myself, and I see myself in them. They're maybe in their late teens, early 20s, and they have all these great gifts and talents, but there's something that is missing from them. And I coach a ton of young people because as I said, I see myself in them. And then a lot of my music that I've written, not only do I lead worship, which I love, but I also write a ton of songs. I do two things. Three things, I guess. I lead worship. I also make hip hop beats, which I'll tell you about that in a second. And then third, I write my own songs, tons of songs. I have a CD, you can call it what do they call it now? A playlist? No, not a playlist, a mixtape. That's what they call it now. The kids call it that. Cool kids. Let's see, where's my cool kid sound here? Somewhere here. There it is. That's my rooster. But the cool kids call it your mixtape. And so I have a mixtape on Spotify. You can go and check it out. I recorded that, I think it was in 2013, 2014, so it's been a while. But all of my songs that I write are my way to help others and myself heal. Like most artists and songwriters, we write of our own process as we're going through things. So you can go and listen to that, as I said, on Spotify or on Apple Music and stream my CD or my mixtape. And so it's called How Do You Feel? Speaking of, so even from way back when, I have always loved to know how do I feel and then how are people feeling so I can then help them. So then I became a certified coach about 5 years ago in the area of fear and how to help people discover who they really are. And that was really awesome. It was a month-long process every weekend for 8 hours every weekend through the Orange County Health Department. That really helped me understand more of the behind the scenes of how to help people. Then in the last 2 years, I went through another training through another group called A-Glow and then one called Restoring the Foundations about how to help people biblically be delivered from the emotional pain and trauma and things that we've all been through. And that was really powerful, helped me tremendously. And then my music, the coaching, these tools that I've gathered, of course, my seminary experience and all of those things have helped me tremendously to be a biblical person. And then, of course, the work in the church, all those things have been a real blessing. But as I now enter my 50s, I've been thinking, okay, God, what is it you want me to do? And I don't know exactly. I don't have everything lined up, but I do know who I am. And the three things that I know that I am, first is a worshiper. And so that area of music and beat making and writing songs is going to always be a part of my life. Number two is healing. It's been a huge part of my life, both because of my own journey and then these tools and then coaching a ton of people. And then third, of course, is always media. I've always loved this whole thing of media and helping people with their live streams and different podcasts and all that kind of stuff. And so I would say those three things are very important to me. And maybe a fourth one would be, and maybe it's related to number two, is training people. It's not just a thing of I want to coach people and help them, but I also want to teach them how to heal themselves. It's like when I first learned how to play the guitar or how to make beats, I wanted to share that knowledge with everyone. We all like to do that. We all like to share what we are learning with other people. And so that's exactly what I want in the area of healing. All the things that I've learned, I want to teach courses and classes online, on Zoom, whatever it may be, in person, partner with different churches and nonprofits and whoever it may be to help them talk about these issues. And I was talking to my mentor, who's a consultant, and he was saying how most churches and organizations these days, they really don't have a plan on how to help people in these areas. They may have a therapist. I'm not a therapist, but they may have that. But even that is not exactly what I'm talking about. And so he was telling me how he would like to just encourage me. He wants to encourage me to take this worldwide, basically. And so perhaps, in a couple of years or maybe sooner, whenever God opens those doors, I may want to take this worldwide. Obviously, through the internet is really the best way to be global. And so, but I think those areas of mixing and all of those going together, that's the beauty of, I think, of maturity and of learning and wisdom. You begin to cut out things and you begin to really merge things together to, what's the other word? Anyway, so you begin to bring things together and to merge them. And so to me, these are not separate things. To me, it's media is going to help my teaching and my music and healing to get out. So it all goes together. My music isn't just separate. It's about bringing people to Jesus and through my songs and through worship songs to bring healing to people. So all of these things begin to come together. And that really is what, as I'm just praying and processing and looking forward to this next season of my life, I figure I have 20, 30 more years on this earth, whatever God may want. And I want to serve people in these areas that I feel like are things that God's given me. And I've seen the results and the blessing of helping people, especially, as I said, young adults. And I just really have a heart for that. And I'm looking just forward to what God may want to do and who wants to help me. And we need a team to build this beautiful team. I have a name called Revive LA that I am looking forward to getting all that started. I've been just praying and just really being at peace, just simply just relaxing, not being in a rush to do a million things, but just to really give myself time to wait on the Lord. And so speaking of that, so in the area of music, maybe you saw on my Instagram, make sure you go to my Instagram at David Trigg. I posted a bunch of stories about what I did yesterday. So my friends and I am their producer. So as I said, I make hip hop beats and they're all for Christian rappers. And so I'm getting to know tons of them. I have 5 already that I'm working with. You could say I'm their producer. And so I have a home studio, and of course in the garage we have a bunch of gear, and I have my guitars. You've maybe seen those on my Instagram as well. And so, I've, over the last 5 years, maybe even longer, I've been getting really efficient and proficient at making hip hop beats. So you can go to my YouTube, by the way, just type in my name and you'll see all of my hip hop beats. Maybe you have a friend or someone who loves hip hop, especially for Jesus, Christian hip hop. So over the last few months, I've been producing these 5 friends and artists, and I know this is going to grow because there's so many young people, obviously, who love hip hop. I mean, millions and millions. It's the number one genre. If you go to Apple, iTunes, or wherever, it's the number one genre. And our hip hop is not about all the usual stuff, violence and women and all that stuff. It's about Jesus. It's about transformation. So yesterday, all the last few months I've been working with these guys, and yesterday, only one of them could make it, my beautiful friend Larry, but he performed 2 of the songs we've been working on, and it was just so awesome to hear him. There were maybe 100 people in there, mostly young people, just enjoying the music, the beat, and of course his witness of Jesus, talking about how God has changed his life. And that was just so powerful to hear him give his testimony, tell his story through songs. And of course, to have the privilege to be with him behind the scenes, producing and recording and getting all the mics and all that stuff. I need to start posting all the behind the scenes for the work that we're doing, so you can see how inspiring this is to work with these young people. And they're all young people who've been through a lot of stuff, but we've had the privilege, as I said, to work together and to serve them and to produce beautiful music, and that's been a real blessing. And then, because one of the guys, as I said, couldn't make it, then my friend asked me if I could do one of my songs, and I said, well, I'm not a rapper, I'm an acoustic guitar guy, and he said, well, do it anyway. And so I got one of my songs ready. I'm going to play it for you here in a second. It's called Cease Striving, or I think I called it Rest. And so it comes from that passage, I think it's Psalm 40, where it says, cease striving and know that I am God. And it comes just from my own experience of being someone who, for many reasons, I tend to put things on my own shoulders. I mean, we all do this, right? We have a need, we see a vision, we see an opportunity, and we take it upon ourselves to make it all happen. And at least for me, I can tend to forget to trust God and to say, Lord, I want to rest in you. And so I've been learning a lot, though, on how to let go and how to surrender all things to God, everything, finances and purpose and calling and next steps and everything. And it's been freeing, and it's been a better place. And so out of that experience, not only has my own health and my mind have received and felt more peace, but as I said, these songs have come out of it. And so I'm going to play you now this song. I think I have it here. I hope I do. I have different computers with different things. I don't like to always do these shows, these live streams, and my songs on the same computer, just because it can be too much for the computer to do its thing. But I think I have it here. It's called Rest, as I said. So I'm going to look here really quick and maybe show you a little bit of the screen here behind the scenes so you can see what's going on. And let's see here. So I think it's in this folder somewhere. Thank you, by the way, for your chats, and make sure you say hello. We have a ton of people here, so thank you for being here. Let's see. What's it called? I think it's called Rest or something like that. Okay, that's another one. Never one. I've been writing so many songs, guys. It's been awesome. Okay, Need to Rest. Here it is. Need to Rest. I think this is the one. So let me play it first and see if you can hear it to make sure. Okay, you can't hear that. So let me try something else to see if you can hear this. Okay, you can hear that. Okay, great. So let me play that song for you right now, okay? So you can hear, this one's called Need to Rest, or just Rest. That's really low, isn't it? I don't think that's the one, because I know I brought up the volume because of that same problem. Let me see here. Let me just keep messing with this to get one that you can actually hear. There it is. What do you want from me, Lord Jesus? Isn't it all enough? If I can only do more, then I will find my safety. But it seems I need to rest. But it seems I need to rest and be the same, the same. What do you want from me, oh Jesus? Isn't it all enough? All right, so actually that's not even the complete one, but you get the feel for it. I did actually the full song last night at this church. So I'm going to show you some of those pictures. I think I have them here on my Facebook so you can see them. Or actually, no, I think they're on my Instagram. Yeah, let me show you on my Instagram. Either way. So you can see them here on my gram. Let's see here. Boop. Oh, I don't have them. Oh, they're on my stories. Oh, I'm live, right. Man, how do I show you my pictures then if I'm live? I think they're on my Facebook. Maybe let's go there and see if you can see them here. I think you can. Okay, there it is. There's a picture of me playing last night, which is really nice. I think you can see that there. There you go. Oops, there it went. It was just a little short clip, like 6 seconds. Let me play it again. There it is. You can't hear it, but it's just me playing. And then here's a picture of the actual church. That was really nice to be there last night. And beautiful, beautiful church. And it was just really fun to play my songs there. It's my father-in-law. We've been helping him with his cancer surgery that he had. And so these are some of the other songs that I've been writing. So in case you want to hear some of the other stuff. But it was really, really, really fun to be there last night and to help and to, most of all, as I said, to share these songs and to kind of begin this journey of ministering through worship. I didn't get to teach last night because it wasn't that kind of event, but of music, of course, are my own songs. So songs that I've written that God's given me that are healing songs to bring healing to people. And then what I'm envisioning is to, as I'm singing, to have images in the background. Because as you know, these songs come from a deep place within my heart of meeting with God, of finding grace, finding peace, finding my rest in Him, ceasing striving. And how did I get there? Well, that's what these songs are about, and I know they're going to help a lot of people. And so what I'm envisioning is to have behind me, you know how you have that beautiful screen there? Let me just show you the beautiful screen again. It's not beautiful. So the idea would be to have behind me as I'm singing my songs. Let me just show you again here so you can envision what I'm talking about. So let's see if we can get to that picture again. That was just so beautiful of the stage. Yeah, so imagine, I'm playing, right? And then maybe even, let me show you the one where I'm actually playing so you can envision it even more. Let's see, how do I? So boom, right here. Okay, so imagine right there, right? You can see that. So imagine behind me singing those songs with maybe a full band and, okay, let me pause it, I guess. So I'm going to go big here and pause it so that you can just imagine. So right there, right? So imagine as I'm playing and singing these songs, all my original songs, with a full band, so it sounds amazing. But then behind me on that screen is to have different verses or quotes or not explanations, but just pictures of, for example, this song. It says that all I want to hear is God tell me that He loves me. And so that's always been a very, very emotional thing for me and a lot of young people. And especially, I think, men, but all of us, men, women, all ages. But especially in terms of my case, I always have wanted to hear my Father, now He's in heaven with Jesus, just to say, even today, to say, Son, I love you. And that's something that really I miss, and I have been finding that in Jesus. But that's been a process, and a lot of kids, because of that lack of, and it wasn't that my father didn't want to, it's just I was far from him for 20 years. I couldn't hear his voice. There wasn't FaceTime or all these things like there are now. All I had were letters, which were so meaningful to me. But imagine behind me playing, having verses, images, pictures of maybe when Jesus Himself heard His Father say, I am well pleased with you, my son. So anyway, so imagine that. And then afterwards, the vision would be to then heal people through conversation. So this is not like Benny Hinn, although I do want to pray for the sick, and I believe they will get healed physically. But I'm talking about having maybe a table up on the stage, or maybe just 2 chairs where I am talking to one person or 2 people who may represent the need in the room in terms of emotional healing. And then to teach through that so that people can see themselves if they're dealing with fear, with anger, with hiding their past, maybe shame, or obviously fear, anxiety, and not in a therapeutic way per se. As I said, I'm not a doctor, but in a spiritual guide kind of way. Someone that has a training. I do have the training, and I understand obviously some of these issues. And I've been published, and I have done conferences, and I have a ton of years of experience. But to be able to, through all of that stuff, to help people live in the room so that they can actually be healed, be delivered, have biblical deliverance, and everything, of course, biblically based. And and if there's time, then maybe just to have people raise their hand and they can come up, ask questions, and I can just help them live, and just to be able to bring healing to people, pray for them, pray for salvation. And then I would teach, or maybe I would teach before, I don't know. Maybe I would first do the music, then I would teach, and then we would at the end do the live direction or the live healing. And I can see that maybe happening 3-4 times a year over the next 10, 20 years, whatever God wants to do, and to be able to do that and bring real healing. And then what I want to do, as I said, that really excites me is to teach people how to do this themselves, is to actually have the people, not live, but let's say on a Thursday call on Zoom for maybe 6 months or even a year to train. And this is what I've already done, to train them so that they then can learn the skills themselves, so they can heal their friends, their family, their parents, their sisters and brothers. I remember years ago, I took my car into the shop here down the street, and a young man, his name was also David, maybe 20 years old, just a beautiful young man. And I don't know why, he said, "Hey, are you a musician, pastor?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Well, I saw my brother get shot just a couple of years ago, and ever since then I've been mad at God." And we were able to talk just while I was waiting for my car for maybe 30, 40 minutes, and he was delivered. God freed him from his that anger and that lack of just not knowing, why did God allow this? And it's not magic, and obviously these are deeper things for people, so it's not like, okay, boom, you're done. But it's such a powerful thing for people to have at least tools on how to work through their pain, their grief, their trauma. Because if not, what happens, and this is more an adult, a man my age, who I wasn't able to actually work with, but I heard from his daughter, who's our daughter's best friend, how when he lost his father, this was her dad's father, and the dad was 47, and he just recently passed away, how he lost his dad 5 years ago, and ever since then he's been angry at God. And so he died without resolving that anger against life, God, for taking away his father. And those are the things that I know that I feel called to bring, to help people heal from, to bring healing and biblical deliverance and biblical emotional deliverance and healing from the things that hold us, that bind us, that I know I've been bound to. And these are things that still happen, but by the grace of God, I've been able to continue to be delivered from that stuff every day. And I want to help people. And I've been doing that for years. It's just, I don't know, I'm looking forward to being able to focus on that and doing it in Spanish and English, because we know that the Latino community, man, we struggle a lot with this because of the same things. We don't think for some people are like, what's the point? And I think especially older generations, maybe my age and older, I don't think this will necessarily be for them, because most of them, they say, I don't need that, I'm good. But it's, as I said, younger people. It's maybe 30s, 20s. I don't work with kids. I don't have that kind of training, or even with early teens, like preteens. But I would say like the juniors, seniors, and above, certainly to, as I said, late teens, 18, 19, 17, maybe even 16, 17, all the way to maybe even their 30s, because that is when I needed help. And by the grace of God and mentors and coaches and tools and all these different things, of course, the grace of God and his word and worship and church and school, I didn't get lost into the things of the world. I still tried, he could say, and I went through a ton of struggles, mostly emotional. But God brought all these people together, so I want to do the same thing now, to help people recover from their own trauma. As I said, if you're my age or older, you might think, I'm good, or just pray. And I think there's room for that. We all are needed in this topic. Some people may turn to violence or become very logical because they don't really want to touch that part. It's like, why be emotional? Why remember the past? And it's not about remembering or digging up the past. It's about being healed, because for most people, their past still affects them today. How they view life, how they process shame, how they process fear, how they process maybe their plans, and if they're very logical, especially. I find that people that are very logical are the hardest to work with because they really think they're okay because they can figure things out in their own heads, or they just have more data, more information, and they turn to science or to whatever it may be, to logic and to their jobs. And so they run from their emotions, even though their emotions, like I always say, ask your wife, ask your kids, ask your mom how you're really doing. And really ask yourself most of all. But anyway, the point is that the ones that mostly are ready are mostly people that are in the heart triad or people that are in the body triad. The people that run from this the most are people that are in their heads, because as I said, it's a little bit harder. Like Jesus said, it's harder for the rich man to enter the kingdom of God. I would say that it's harder for the logical types to enter the kingdom of healing because they have their minds to trust in. And yet, as I've learned, that's where the devil tends to affect most of us, is in the mind. And so it's ironic what happens there. But these have been very powerful things and experiences in my life over the last, 20 years. And God has brought me to a place of, as I always like to say, like Henry Nouwen, a wounded healer. And I will always celebrate, like Nouwen said, being a wounded healer. It's not either or. This is not about being healed completely, because there's a wound still there that will never heal completely, that we'll always have to work with and work around and build a whole garden around. Maybe the loss of a dream, or you had to run away from the law, or you lost your marriage, or maybe there's hidden sin or secrets in your life that you're ashamed of. You're living a double life. No matter the age, these are things that cause shame and fear and anger and violence, or it causes overeating or pornography, or it causes hidden alcoholism or drug abuse, or smoking of weed, or you name it, all the things that we see everywhere. And most of all, there's things that we pass down to our kids. And even though you don't want to, none of us want to, right? But our kids, they see our actions. And so this is why I am just thankful for the opportunity that I had last night. I guess I'll show you that picture again, which I think is just so awesome, that I had last night. And I've had many times in the last 10 years, starting with my conference in 2013, even before then, all the way to today, to what I did last night, to what I did a couple of weeks ago. I did the whole experience on a Tuesday night with young people, and it was revolutionary. Like literally, I had their leaders come up afterwards and just be in tears, saying, wow, what was that? God was here. It was just crazy. It was just such a beautiful experience. And that was just kind of impromptu. I didn't even know I was supposed to do that until that morning, or that afternoon, actually. And so, but God I know wants to bless us. And I think we all know someone. As I said, the older that we get, the less we're open to these things, meaning personally. Or as I said, if we're more logical, then we tend to dismiss this kind of stuff, or go to like just read your Bible, which is all, as I said, all are welcome and all these tools are necessary. But younger people and people that are more in their heart or in their body, now here's the sad part. They're mostly going to other religions, to Buddhism, especially, to New Age, to manifestation, to positive mindset, and I don't blame them. It's because those are the only people talking about this without all the heaviness of condemnation and of tradition. And so there's a huge gap there. And we may not be ready for this for another 10 years. I don't know how long it's going to take certainly for the evangelical world to catch up to this. I mean, the Christian world is so behind in this because of some of the same things, because older people who are in power, they don't often see a need for this. They want to go back to how things were. And yet their churches are empty and people are in need and hurting. And we have an opportunity now through these tools, especially to younger people and those in their hearts, those creatives, those people who are spiritual. I have so many young people that are spiritual, that are getting certified in yoga or in crystals or in hand reading, all of these things that are taking them away from the light of Jesus. But why wouldn't they go to those things? What are we offering as an alternative that is Jesus-centered, that is the light of Christ? Nothing. Nothing. That's the sad part. But that's why I don't want to just do this by myself. I want a team around me to put on these experiences. And most of all, I want to train people so they can get the tools into their hands. Like they said, it's not just give the person a fish, but teach them how to fish. That's exactly what my father did. It's what my beautiful wife does. It's what my mom has done. It's what my father-in-law. It's who I am. And I want to do that, is to teach, especially young people and their parents, if they're open to it, how to heal themselves most of all. Because young people, they are obviously loved by their moms and dads, but they're also affected by the way they process life, or God, or faith, or religion, or therapy. I mean, especially among people of color, African American, Latinos, certainly Asian Americans. I've worked with all these different cultures. They don't do spiritual direction. They don't do therapy. They don't do alternative things. We either work hard, or we love our families and our kids, or we party if they're young people, have experiences, or maybe they throw themselves into education in school, or for a lot of them, as I said, they go into these alternative spiritual realities of drugs and mushrooms and ukana. I forget the name of this. Is it a mushroom or something? Something that creates in them these experiences. Of course, weed. I mean, that's like drinking water now, but all these different chemicals and stimulants that will basically help them meet God. And here we are, the Christian church, with all the gifts and power and the Holy Spirit. And so I want to be a part of the solution. And as I said, to train 100 people, 1,000 people would be my dream, to have a huge center where we can train people through technology. And then eventually, if things ever go back to something normal, to have them be in person, where we can train people so they can learn the skills on how to heal themselves and heal other people. So it's a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful life that we're living, isn't it? And all of it is in God's timing. Just like the song said, just rest. I'm encouraging myself and you to, right now in the middle of this pandemic, to rest, cease striving, and know that I am God. In time, you will know exactly which way to go. I'm not saying don't do anything. I'm doing things. But in terms of the bigger picture, especially if you're at a place like where I'm at, whether you are in your 20s, 30s, 60s, 70s, wherever you are, is cease striving. Do what's in front of you. God will reveal an amazing plan. Revival is near, and the Lord is near, and he wants healing to take place on this earth. Let your kingdom come, said the Lord. Jesus said, thy kingdom come on earth as it is in heaven. And so we want that in the area of spiritual healing, emotional deliverance, biblical deliverance, and to see people get saved through this process, through this tool called, as I said, healing trauma, emotional deliverance, biblical deliverance, in Jesus' name. Thank you so much for being here. Please leave me a comment. I will see you next time.